just getting into music production, there are a couple of mistakes that everybody and their mother makes, and I made them too. Let's go ahead and talk about them so that you can level up as a producer a little bit faster. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out the channel as always. If you guys are new here, thank you so much for being here. Please consider hitting subscribe and checking out the other videos as well for more value. If you are a return viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I'm super happy you're here. Let's go ahead and get into the video. The first mistake that most people make, including myself as beginners, is overproducing. We feel like every single song needs every single thing jam-packed into every single moment of the song to make it interesting, especially in the pop world. There's a fine balance between utilizing the silence that's in the beginning of your DAW and using ear candy and other melodic things to make the song interesting. It's very, very easy to overproduce, especially when you're not exactly sure what you're going for or what the artist you're working with is going for. Ultimately, the goal of your production is to support the top line vocal. And so every single thing that you're contributing to the track should serve to meet that purpose. If you're kind of just throwing too many things, every single idea that you have at the wall and seeing what sticks, that may be a good way to kind of brainstorm in the beginning, but all of those ideas cannot stay in the final track. And realistically, you should be stripping out tracks or stripping out ideas as the song progresses that may be distracting from the top line vocal. I encourage you guys to start with one primary idea that helps support that top line vocal, whether that's a simple melody, whether that's a basic drum loop, or that is some sort of guitar line or something of that sort. But don't try to do all of these ideas all at once, because that could become too convoluted and you could lose the magic of pointing just to the top line vocal. Ultimately, the production should enhance the vocal, not distract from it. So if you find that you're at the end of the song and you listen back to it and you're starting to get pulled away from the top line lyric and melody, then you should maybe reassess and see what kinds of things you can take away. That way, the top line vocal stays center stage for the entire song. Another thing that people do is they ignore gain staging, especially starting out. You get into this flow where you start recording guitar, and then you start recording bass, then this synth, and this background vocal, and that background vocal, etc., etc., and you don't take into consideration gain staging. And then by the time you finally get to the mixing stage of the project or you send it off to a mixer, you realize that everything is clipping and your master bus is way, way too hot. And so I encourage you, make sure as you are getting into that flow state, make sure you're keeping gain staging in mind. That has to be one of the very top of mind priorities as you are producing, because if everything is too hot and then you get to the mixing stage, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. So keep that in mind, keep that headroom in mind, and produce with the mixing and mastering in mind. At this point, my aim, and I encourage you all producers to do the very same, is to aim for -6 dB FS to be the loudest your master bus goes as you are recording all those tracks. That way, when you get to the mixing stage, there's plenty of headroom to play around with. The third mistake that I made a lot in the beginning stages is not utilizing reference tracks. This is also extremely important if you're working with an artist. That way, both you and the artist have a clear picture of what you're both aiming at together on this collaboration. You can easily correct if you're starting to get off course, so I highly encourage it. And I also actually advocate that you don't use reference tracks too much as a crutch, because then by the end of the song it could sound too similar to the reference track. So kind of work on finding a good balance between using original ideas and also using a reference track for inspiration. Number 4, for production and for mixing, another mistake that people make is relying too much on presets. If you're a producer or you're a mixer, I highly encourage that you experiment and figure out exactly how it is that your plugins actually work. Now, there's nothing wrong with presets. They're always good as a starting point. But if you were to have all your presets taken away and you didn't know how to use your plugins without those presets, then you're probably not in a great spot. And I would encourage you to kind of experiment and see what you can do so that you can actually learn your plugins. That way, you're going to be getting the absolute most out of plugins, and you're not going to be using a crutch to make great music. And fifth, but certainly not least, a mistake that I myself have made and probably will always make, and a mistake that almost every producer under the sun makes, is not finishing your daggum songs. Finish your songs. Stop being a perfectionist. This is a word to myself as well. Finish your songs. Put them out. Why? Because every single song that you make and release into the world is another opportunity to up your skill set and to learn something new. Each and every song presents new challenges and new things that you can learn from and grow from. You are going to be a much better producer if you put out 1,000 songs as opposed to just putting out 10 songs. Why? Because repetition is really what builds those muscles. It's what enhances your creativity. It's what expands your toolkit. It's what gives you the vocabulary to be a well-rounded producer, mixer, mastering engineer, artist, etc. I encourage you, instead of trying to make, quote, perfect songs, which, by the way, do not exist, I encourage you to try to get your songs 80 to 90% of the way good and then put them out. And by the way, that song is only going to be perfect to you. I guarantee you someone on the other side of the phone or the speakers is gonna have critiques no matter how good or perfect you think your song is. So with that in mind, just make your songs, put them out, and grow collectively overall as a producer, artist, mixing engineer, mastering engineer, etc. So with that being said, let me know in the comments, what are some mistakes that you guys made starting out earlier as a producer? Or what are some mistakes that you find yourself still making and you're trying to grow from? Share them in the comments. Let's learn from each other. Let's grow as a community. Share this with another friend that may be a producer, an artist, an aspiring mixing engineer, whatever. Let's grow as a community. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. I think we're pretty close. So thank you guys so much for being here. I'll see you again in the next video. Check me out on Patreon, socials, etc. I'll see you soon. Peace out.